Why don't you Assyrians have a land? Why are you a stateless people? Well, let's look at the facts. It was the year 1916. Representatives of Great Britain and France secretly reached an accord known as the Sykes-Picot Agreement, by which most of the Arab lands under the rule of the Ottoman Empire are to be divided into British and French spheres of influence with the conclusion of World War I. After hearing the news, the Assyrian Christians knew that this is their only opportunity in hopes of establishing an independent Assyrian state, so the following year, they attended a meeting with the ally. On January 19, 1917, during World War I, a meeting was held in Iran between the allies who had representatives from England, France, Russia, and also present at this meeting were Assyrian leaders. From France, they had Colonel Rasfield, Officer Cherdonnet, Colonel Kojul, who was the president of the Red Cross at the time, and Monsieur Santouk, who was a missionary ambassador for the French. And then from England, you had Captain Gracie, who was a British intelligence officer, also the head of decision making. And then from Russia, you had Deputy of Council Basil Nikitin with other Russian officers. And then from America, you had Deputy of Council Dr. Sheed, and with him was Officer Theon McDowell. And then last but not least, from the Assyrian side, we had the Patriarch of the Assyrian Church of the East, Mar Binyamin, accompanied with General Agha and members of the Assyrian Central Committee. In this meeting, Captain Gracie stressed the importance of holding the line between Baghdad and the Black Sea. The Assyrian leaders, specifically Mar Binyamin and Agha asked Gracie many questions regarding the Assyrian plight and hopes of establishing an independent Assyrian state protected by the Allies. Captain Gracie, who was the official speaker and decision maker, promised the Assyrian leaders that the British and the Allies will help establish an independent Assyrian state protected by the Allies. The British officer then promised the Assyrian delegates that the British would provide the Assyrians with all the resources it needs, and in addition to that, the Assyrian state would be protected by the Allies only if the Assyrians joined the war against the Ottoman Empire. Captain Gracie also informed the Assyrians that the British would provide them with heavy artillery and many weapons. And then Captain Gracie told the Assyrians that they would have military reinforcement with the help of the Caucasian army, which comprised of Russian allies who would join the Assyrians in the fight against the Ottoman Empire. And then the Assyrian leaders, with no hesitation, agreed to the proposition and fulfilled their promises. But unfortunately, after the war was over, the British and the Allies betrayed the Assyrians with empty promises. What the Assyrians got back in return was 2/3 of our nation wiped out, and a nation without an independent state as promised by the Allies. I'm ended off with this. What the British were to Assyrians was like what the Judas was to Jesus. This was the worst betrayal in the 20th century.